Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Career Chat live stream event. Thank you for joining us. My name is Sabrina Mendez, and I'm the project coordinator at the Alvarez Student Success Center.
Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in. My name is Krishna Garza-Baker and I am the Assistant Director of Experiential Learning. And today we have a great speaker for you all. We're really excited about our career chat today. Eric Kushel, a Global Partners Account Manager at the Spurs Sports Entertainment. So we're going to start off a little bit with what we have coming up at the Alvarez Student Success Center. So Sabrina, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you. So yes, if you haven't heard, we are the Alvarez Student Success Center. We are located in the business building on the second floor. And we have a lot of different events, right? We have so many great things going on in our center. And the main thing that I wanted to introduce are more about like our upcoming events. And so I did want to talk a little bit about some upcoming events that we have. So we do something called Rowdy Recruiting. And so if you're wanting to learn more about gaining your skills for internships, landing jobs, the interview process, how to build your resume, things like that, and you have questions, you just want to learn more about employers, Rowdy Recruiting would be a great event for that. We do have one coming up actually tomorrow. That's Wednesday, August 4th. We also have one coming up on Wednesday, October 11th. And so those are going to be with different employers that we have. So be sure to check those out. And of course, always feel free to check out our UTSA business calendar on the website as well. And before we forget, please check in. If you are joining us online, please check in. We do have a QR code on the screen. And then also we will have the check-in. We'll try to have that pinned in the chat as well. That way you can go back and check in also. So did you want to talk a little bit about like our global programs?
Yes, so I have had a lot of students who have been asking me, Krishna, when are global immersions opening up? And if you're tuning in, you know who you are, but we have our summer 2024 global business immersion programs. The applications are now open and they close October 22nd. So for the people in the back, it's closing October 22nd. The global immersion programs, we are hosting a program to Costa Rica, a program to Germany, and a program to India. So maybe Eric will join us in one of the programs. We'll see. But in summer 2024, so those applications are open. The application has all the details that you need to know so you can make a decision whether this is a good opportunity for you. So we have a ton of programs coming up, a ton of events. Anything else to add before we get started with this conversation, Sabrina?
Just welcome all of you that are new joining in to the live stream. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Once again, we are with the Alvarez Student Success Center. Welcome to our career chat. My name is Sabrina Mendez, project coordinator. We have Krishna here, Eric as well. So great guests that we have. And so just inviting you back in to do the check-in, QR codes on the screen, as well as in the chat. So thank you for joining us. But I mean, I think those are most of the events. If there's anything else.
Oh, we always have, and we're actually live streaming from the Alvarez Student Success Center. So all of this in the back, we are streaming in the Alvarez Student Success Center. You know where you are, but hey, let's go ahead and get started with this career chat. You're not here to hear us blab.
Right.
You're here to hear more about our You're here for our guests. So with us today, we have Eric, and he is visiting us in a very busy time, which I am hearing. Start of the season. So with the Spurs Sports and Entertainment. So Eric, let's go ahead and get started. And if you can tell us a little bit more about your career path and some of the insights that you've seen in the industry, just a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you guys so much for having me. Excited to be here. Birds up.
Yeah.
I got that great. So sports have always been a really big thing in my family. Was important for me growing up, playing them, spending time with my family, watching them. I think it's a great equalizer, right? It brings people together. And so was lucky enough to attend the University of Miami in Florida, the real U, and got an opportunity to get exposed to a really world-class athletic facility, athletic marketing department, athletics department as a whole. And while I was there, I started out as an entrepreneurship major. I was in the business school, and the sports administration program is actually offered through our School of Education. And about halfway through my time at the University of Miami, decided that sports administration and communication was really where my strong suits lie, and was a career that I could get excited about every morning and look forward to. So I started getting involved in those programs and eventually changed my major to sports administration. And when you're a sports admin major at Miami and many schools across the country, they really encourage you to participate with the athletic department. And so I became an athletic marketing intern for the University of Miami and worked very closely with our football program as well as our men's and women's basketball program for about 2 years, doing your typical intern duties. Probably folded about 5,000 t-shirts for the t-shirt cannon. But great experiences, really learning about sports marketing and seeing how fans interact with brands at the grassroots level, and really just building my network, building my experience, learning about all the facets of the industry. And from there, I was lucky enough to have a series of really fantastic internships that all stemmed from basically networking opportunities, more or less. And I was able to go and work for the Golden State Warriors for a summer right after they went back to back, which was really cool. I was a community foundation intern there, a little bit different than partnerships. And what I found out working for the community foundation was that the impact that they have with the Bay Area community is another facet of their overall marketing plan and their overall impact plan. And that the community foundation was, in a sense, corporate partnerships and global partnerships and marketing partnerships, and where the focus, instead of driving awareness for a brand or adoption of a product, was impacting the community. And that kind of started my focus in marketing and in partnerships. And from there, I was able to go have a full season experience as a representative for the partnerships department in Atlanta with Arthur M. Blank Sports and Entertainment, which is Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the Atlanta Falcons, and Atlanta United. And that was a fantastic experience where I really feel like I honed in on my partnership skills and really started to learn about what it takes to sell a partnership, to activate a partnership, to use analytics and data to drive business decisions. Fantastic opportunity there. And from there, I was able to apply to 100 and change different positions, I think, after that one ended, and ended up coming to the Spurs organization just before COVID in 2019. And can't say enough about the Spurs organization and the opportunities they've afforded me to grow in my career, and really experience working with global brands and really impacting both brands and our community and our fans. So it's been a heck of a ride bouncing across the country, and I'm very thankful for my family and the opportunities that they've provided me to go have those experiences and make it to where I am now with the Spurs organization.
And I like that you mentioned a lot of key words for our students or for those who are graduating and looking for those positions. So you talked about internships, you talked about networking, and even whenever you shared apply to 100+ jobs, I think this is something that our students are seeing more often. Is you have to apply, you have to get out there and network, you have to go out there and get those internships.
Yep.
And what I find very impressive about your career path is how, even with your sports administration and communications expertise, you found this marketing path that allowed you to open up to global partnerships, analytics, sports administration. So that's one thing that I think a lot of our faculty members at the Carlos Alvarez College of Business in the marketing department emphasize, that you can, as a marketing major, you can find so many different paths, and you don't have to just go through one specific, like if it's just social media, you could do social media and analytics. I think that's the beauty of the marketing degree.
Absolutely. And I think when you look at specifically sports partnerships, and what I do on the account management side is I in theory really just quarterback specific departments to bring together something that is greater than the sum of its inputs. So we work with our data analytics team, we work with our brand lab team, we work with our marketing team, we work with our analytics team, we work with our social media team, daily. So what I find really special about being in sports marketing is I get to really touch every facet of marketing and the organization to get my job done.
hence like the collaboration between the departments and the organizations. And so I definitely think going back to the networking, right, like learning that skill, being able to feel comfortable and confident to collaborate, right?
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, I mean, one of the other questions is whenever we're talking about, right, internships and networking and opportunities, a lot of our students are kind of at that phase right now, right, where they're looking for those opportunities. What important things should students consider when beginning their job search?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I got a couple notes here. I think, when growth and experience opportunities, especially at the beginning of your career, are so important. It's tough to negotiate a salary as an intern, especially, at a team like the Spurs or the Warriors or the Falcons, which have hundreds and hundreds of applicants for those roles. But really assessing what opportunities you're going to have at those organizations and how they can help you grow in your young career, with the hope that, you might sacrifice a little on the pay side to get these opportunities, but those opportunities that you can use later in your career will, hopefully result in a net positive cash flow, if you will. So, seeking out those opportunities and evaluating what opportunities you'll get in an internship or a representative role is really important. And then I think, preparing, like be prepared. Opportunity favors the prepared mind. And
I love that. I love that.
I'm
glad that that's recorded.
Opportunity favors the prepared mind. And if you're not prepared, if you're failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. So, you should always have your elevator pitch ready to go, because you might use it in an elevator, you might use it at a bar, you might use it at a Spurs game. You should always have an understanding of your value and where your skill set lies. And I think you really need to be prepared in your interviews. I've been interviewing a lot of interns for the Spurs, and we've had some wonderful candidates, and we've also had some not so wonderful candidates, and frankly, it comes down to interview skills. You should really be prepared for an interview. You should understand your why you want to go work for this team, or why you want to work in sports, or why you want to work in marketing. You should have an answer to the standard interview questions, right? What's your strengths? What's your weaknesses? Talk about a time when you had to change plans. Talk about a time when you had to deal with someone difficult within your own organization. And I feel like a lot of the times, certainly for me as an interviewer, I'm not really looking for the answer or the story of the answer. I'm looking for how you think and what the answer says about you. So if someone's asking you, what's your greatest weakness? I don't really care what your greatest weakness is. I care about if you can identify how you're trying to change it. If I ask you, name a time when you worked with someone difficult, I don't really care about how difficult that person was or what the project was. How you handled adversity. How did you, use your messaging and your communication skills to, overcome that adversity. So really thinking about, the messaging that you want to get across and what you actually want to convey with your words, I think is really important. And knowing that stuff before you go into an interview, or even before you go into a networking setting, and having that stuff down pat to the point where you're almost reciting it, I think is really, really important to prepare you for a job market that's incredibly saturated at the moment.
And that is so true. And we have, so I'm going to plug in a little bit with the Alvarez Student Success Center. We do host mock interview events. We have resume workshops. Our career kids, they focus on what do you need to do to prepare for an interview. So all of those are in our calendar. We do promote that. You'll see the flyers all over the business building, because we want our students to be prepared for whenever they go to your table for the interview. So in seeing, you have seen students interview for internships, you have had internships. And a little bit before that, whenever a student is working on the resume and preparing to put things on their resume, what would you say they should be doing to get the attention, even before landing or getting to the interview tables, to get the attention of the recruiter or of the person in the other end in the company trying to recruit those students? So what would they need to be doing right now that they're in college, that are here at UTSA, to prepare for that resume and develop it?
Everyone should find your LinkedIn and your profile page that you made, and use that as a prime example of what a good LinkedIn is supposed to look
Mine?
like. Yours. Yes,
Oh,
yours.
oh, well, thank you.
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely. I
Thank
think
you.
your,
Yeah,
your,
you can find me on LinkedIn.
yeah, your resume and your LinkedIn and your personal profile page, off of LinkedIn, your own portfolio, if you will, is fantastic. I think it does a great job of conveying your strengths, your value, and especially telling it in a storytelling manner. And I think that's really important. It goes back to messaging, right? Can you convey what you actually want to get across with your words? And you know, it's all online. It's all on LinkedIn these days. So making sure that your profile is, you know, from a business standpoint, attractive, and you know, make sure you're active, you're participating in the online community, you got a good headshot. You know, I think those are really important things that are often overlooked, especially when it comes to recruiters. I personally don't have a lot of experience with recruiters, but I think that's when I go look at candidates' pages and, you know, I'm looking for examples of work. I'm looking for, you know, storytelling ability. I don't just want, you know, bullet points of, you know, activated, you know, marketing assets, you know, throughout the season.
Mhm. And we do have the Iris booth.
Yes.
It's over by the Career Center for your headshot. That's where I took my headshot.
Yes,
Was
me
Sabrina
too.
took her headshot. So that's a good start. And just where Eric was mentioning about the portfolio. So in case you're interested, feel free to go to my LinkedIn. But I do have a Wix website that it tells my story of my work, my projects. So that's something good also for our marketing students and really any business student, but especially for our marketing students that you're doing a lot of hands-on designs, data analysis, a lot of things that you can really put into a website, and even using the website gives you another skill that you can put on your resume.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one of the questions that I thought of as you were, you know, introducing yourself, a little bit about how you got to where you are today. You've had probably to grow pretty fast, right? To be able to kind of get out of that comfort zone and make those connections. I would imagine that, especially our students, maybe some of the mindset that they have is that, you know, how do you put yourself out there? How do you make yourself known and kind of overcome that fear of the imposter syndrome, right? And so what is some advice you can give on really making sure that students are getting out of the box and not feeling too afraid to have that voice? So I don't know what you can put in that.
Trust yourself, and that's hard. Like again, you know, my parents, my grandparents, you know, my sister from a young age, you know, they've given me fantastic opportunities in my life to go experience, you know, some great things, personally and professionally. And when I look at a situation, you know, I think I know that I have the experience, and I trust myself that I can get it done. And I have an enormous amount of trust in my team as well at work, to be able to execute on anything we come up with. Great support from leadership. So I think it's really trusting yourself and knowing what you're capable of and staying hungry. You know, when you get to the real world and you get to your first big kid job and nobody's handing out money, nobody's handing out promotions, you know, nobody's handing out the fun projects that people are probably handing out the projects you don't want to work on, but the projects you do want to work on, be vocal about that. Go tell your manager, go talk about, hey, I want to go shadow someone in the finance department. I want to go shadow someone in the marketing department. I want to learn more about sports betting. Put yourself out there, ask for it. It's okay. You know, it's, demanding it is one thing, but going out there and making a real case for yourself and understanding your strengths, understanding the organization's needs, and saying, hey, I want to take this on, and trusting yourself that you can do that, which is not an easy thing to do. And it comes from within, and it comes from your experiences. But I think, you know, don't be afraid to go ask to get on a project that you want to be a part of. Don't be afraid to volunteer your time for free to go shadow somebody who works in a field that you want to get involved in. And through those experiences, you will gain enough trust in yourself that, you know, you can go be a part of those big projects and you can lead a team. I think that's what's brought me to kind of my level of confidence in my own abilities.
A lot of self-advocacy, it sounds like, advocating for yourself
100%.
to get yourself out there and help you to learn those skills,
Mhm.
right?
And it's tough.
It is.
It's tough.
It is.
You know,
It
it's
really is.
not easy.
Well, even the proactiveness of getting out there and even going for those projects that may be very challenging. And even if it's in a class setting, when students are in a class leading a project or doing part of a team in a project, take the lead of that project.
100%, great example.
Or provide your information, do your research for that project to be successful. I think sometimes it may be, it's just homework. No, it's the time where you can use it to develop new skills, to put in your resume. You did this project, you contributed this way. So it does showcase, and it's something that students have right there in their hands that they can really develop further for their skills, proactiveness, preparedness, or research. So it's another good practice, I would say.
And it's a snowball effect, right? I mean, you take on a small project, get confident in doing that. And then the next bigger project, you're confident in doing that, and eventually, you're managing partnerships for a team, or you're managing a brand, or you're managing a social account for a global institution. Snowball in the right way, I guess.
Right. Very good. Very good.
Perfect. Well, I do want to go back to the networking piece.
Absolutely.
I've had students come to my office and say, I'm an introvert. I don't really know how to network. I don't know what to say. I myself consider myself an introvert, that I am the person that I might not know what to say at the beginning. But if someone starts talking to me, hey, I can go on with the conversation. So in the networking aspect, what you have seen with students, what you have seen with your colleagues, and even in a very prominent organization like the Spurs Sports and Entertainment, I think that there's a lot of networking, a lot of in your role, partnerships does revolve around networking and building those relationships. So what would you say to a student who's just now starting to develop those networking skills, starting to know what is networking, and then who wants to move on to a bigger role, like your role in a global perspective of building those relationships? And what does that mean to build relationships?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, if you're an introverted person, or you're not too comfortable in a networking setting, like, force yourself to go do it. Force yourself, and you don't have to walk into the Google office and start networking there. Like, go somewhere on campus, go to the library, go talk to somebody, have a conversation, learn something, ask a question. Put yourself in uncomfortable situations, and again, put yourself in a small uncomfortable situation and see how you do. Get confident with yourself. Put yourself in a bigger uncomfortable situation. Get confident in that, and build that within yourself to go out and understand where you are and be curious. I think people like to talk about themselves. That's what, look at me, right? So, ask questions, ask people questions, get comfortable. And once you're able to do that, especially in a partnership sense, relationships are so important. Not only relationships with clients, but relationships internally. Like I said before, it's so much about those internal communications and getting lots and lots of people to come together and do their jobs to create something that is greater than the sum of its parts, is really all relationship based. And I think it comes down to again, messaging, and can you convey what you actually want to convey in your words or in your writing, and being empathetic of other people and other people's goals and what their department might be trying to do, and making sure that you can work that into your messaging as well. So when you're out networking, be prepared. Run some stuff in the mirror before you go to a networking event. Run your elevator pitch in a mirror before you go to a networking event. Figure out who you're going to talk to, and make up some questions, even if you're not interested in it. Do your research and be prepared. And then I think when you get into those situations, you're not as nervous. You're not as introverted. You feel like you're supposed to be there. And you do that enough over time, coming right out of school, and see where it takes you.
Oh, you bet that I did this in the mirror. This is me going on YouTube, putting myself out there. I prepared my questions, so what he's saying is true. Very much so. Very much so.
So as far as getting to where you're at now, what is the most important thing that you've gained throughout your career that has helped you to get where you're at now, or maybe what's helping you in your current role?
I think it really comes out, I think, messaging, and that applies to networking, That applies to interviews, that applies to those interdepartmental communications, that applies to those client communications, and just over time understanding how to craft your message. If it's why you want to work at the Spurs, if it's why you want to work on the social media team, why social media is important to you, if it's why you have to ask another department to do something that doesn't necessarily align with their goals, but it aligns with your department's goals and your client's goals, and growing your ability to message efficiently and effectively is, I think, the most important thing that I've learned throughout my roles to get to this position with the Spurs.
So, and this is off script, everyone. So you mentioned I do want to go back to also to your career path.
Yeah.
I just find it very impressive on how you went through your path in different areas.
Mm-hmm.
But in the industry itself right now, especially sports industry, I actually, one of my backgrounds is sporting and tourism management. Whenever it used to be a degree here at UTSA, now it's a track for our business students. Not great with sports, so I never went into the sports scene. But as you have been in the sports administration industry, what type of career opportunities are there for students that maybe they don't know right off the bat whenever they think, oh, sports industry, or even if it's in the marketing industry, that you may not think, oh, wait, my marketing skills, my marketing degree can help me for that? What would you say the industry career opportunities look like?
Yeah, I think, and this does not just apply to only sports, but applies to marketing as a whole, and frankly to every industry. Seeking out organizations that are innovating. I think growth and opportunity follows very closely behind innovation. All the organizations that I've had the pleasure of working for, including the Spurs, are constantly innovating and creating new opportunities for their employees to grow and create these programs and these platforms and execute these ideas. So when you go out and you're assessing, your role and where you fit into an organization and maybe what you're looking for, I don't necessarily think that knowing exactly what you want to do is as important as joining an organization in a role that is going to provide you experience and opportunity and growth. And I think a great way to survey that or to prospect those opportunities is looking for firms and companies and organizations that are innovating. And whether that's, for me personally, sports betting became legal, or the Supreme Court made it not illegal to sports bet. So certain states have been taking advantage of that. It's obviously been huge for the sports marketing world. And so for me, looking at states and organizations that were getting more and more involved in sports betting was something that I tried to tail onto, because there's been fantastic opportunities for growth for me personally at the Spurs because of that, and because of the way that legislature is shaking out in Texas. So I think that's a great example. You look at analytics, UTSA, Alvarez College of Business has one of the top statistics programs in the country. That applies to almost any aspect of business today. And thinking about sports, analytics changed basketball on the floor, right? Steph Curry changed the way you have to play the game, because he could shoot 10% worse but score 50% more points on a three-pointer, if my math is correct. And so those analytics changed how you play on the court. And then, but on the ticketing side, how you price tickets and dynamic pricing, all analytics. How we message to certain groups on social media, all analytics. How we build purpose-driven partnerships, all data, all analytics. So I think that's a fantastic opportunity where you can plug yourself into almost any department, any company. If you are an analytical person and you're able to consume large amounts of data and distill those into actionable insights and storytelling, I think that's a really important thing to do in business these days, and is a great way to find your niche, maybe if you don't know exactly what you want to do or what department you want to go into.
Yeah, so then really to put it into perspective, it's the students don't have to fully know exactly this is what I want to do.
Mhm.
It's being open to those opportunities and what comes your way with your first internship.
Mhm.
And I think that's the purpose really of the internships, is that you get to see what you don't like and what you do like. And
So
I
true.
personally, I had 2 internships whenever I was an undergrad, and it gave me a glimpse into, okay, I maybe like this side of tourism, but not this side of
Mhm.
hospitality. So I think it's really interesting why we promote and push for you all to look into internships, and those are listed in Handshake. We list them in our social media. We have all of that information readily available for you. Like Sabrina was mentioning, we have rowdy recruiting whenever the companies come here to provide those opportunities and share with you what the opportunities look like.
And also, we do have career resources listed as well on the Student Success Center. It's under helpful links, right, I believe? So all of those templates for resumes and cover letters, all of that is located there on the website as well. So,
Yeah.
so many helpful resources available to you.
Yeah, we actually had we call it a peer-to-peer my internship experience event, and we had a full house.
We did.
A panelist of students shared their insight into how they came across their internship, what they did during the internship,
Mhm.
what that internship helped them figure out afterwards. So it was a lot of information. And one of the questions that I remember a student asking that I thought it was a great question is, what is a cover letter? And yeah, sometimes students may not know what a cover letter is, and that is okay. That's
Write
what,
your cover letters.
yes, that's what we are
Write
here.
your cover
I always
letters.
say that. It's that extra thing, but it really does speak volumes.
Mhm.
Yes, because it's your resume that speaks what you have done, but the cover letter tells that story. Gives a little, it opens the door a little bit more to what you have done. And if, like Sabrina mentioned, if you don't know what a cover letter is, if you don't have a resume template, we have those resources for you in our website, and you can always stop by our center, and we can give you those printouts for you to have. So now here's another question. I think this is a more fun question, but I also want to hear a little bit more. So you have mentioned before we started live streaming that you do see the team, you meet them, and whenever you think or you have seen the Spurs team, I always think of this great teamwork, great partnership between the players that makes them great, that makes them amazing. So in putting that into perspective for a student who is going to go out there and work in a team, part of the team, what do they do, or what do the Spurs players take really to heart to make them a successful team and make them be great in the court? So kind of thinking, putting that into the student side. Yeah.
A fantastic question. I think when you look at Coach Popovich, who's been the winningest coach in NBA history, 5 championships, multiple Hall of Famers under his belt, his coaching tree is enormous. One of the things I really admire about him is the team goes out and breaks bread together all the time, and you are not allowed to talk about basketball at all. You can only talk about yourself and your personal life and what's going on. And Coach Pop encourages all kinds of conversations around, people's personal lives and social activism, and to encourage people to talk about their feelings. And I think that builds an environment where you're connecting with your coworkers and your team members, outside of necessarily the mission at hand. And that allows people to build deeper trust and understanding of each other. And in a team environment, I think that's really important. I look at my team at Spurs on the partnership side, and we're lucky enough that we hang out outside of work, and we're encouraged to do things with each other. And that creates a trust and the communication that I think leads to championship teams and what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's really great. I know it was back when they kept getting those back-to-back championships, right? They set the tone for the NBA. So many teams wanted to do what the Spurs were doing. That was almost the love of basketball was coming true on the Spurs court.
Yes,
right.
It's pure.
Right, exactly. And the way that they ran games and the way that Popovich, connected with the players. So that's so inspiring to hear that that's still happening today, even though, right, we're ready for another championship, right? But it's been a little while, right? So the fact that that's still happening, and it's so refreshing to hear that, and couldn't agree more, right? Like being able to collaborate and connect with your team. And I do think that will speak in your work as well.
Absolutely.
Right? So, yeah, no, that's great.
And I think when you look, like Coach Pop's big thing is the Stonecutters Creed, and it's kind of the ethos of the Spurs. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it, and I might butcher it here, but in the Spurs locker room, the Stonecutters Creed is displayed in English and in every single language of a player on the Spurs. So right now it's probably displayed in 7 to 12 languages in the locker room. And it's a Jacob Reese quote, and it essentially says, when I look at the stonecutter splitting a boulder, and he strikes it 100 times without so much as a chip in the boulder, and he strikes it for the 101st time, and the boulder splits in half. And the stonecutter realizes that it was not the 101st blow that split the stone, but the 100 blows that came before it. And I think that's the ethos of the Spurs organization on and off the court. I think I wrote 100, I counted, I wrote 153 cover letters between my job at the Falcons and my job at the Spurs. And so, it wasn't the 153rd cover letter that got me my job, but it was the 152 that had come before it. And, it's getting to the position that you want to be as tough and keep pounding the rock. That is literally the ethos of the Spurs. And I think it's incredibly applicable to young people moving into a job market, especially in really competitive fields like marketing and sports marketing.
Wow, very
This has got body chills.
I know, me too.
Let me just sit on that for a minute, because that is so powerful.
I would have known all of that depth within basketball.
There you go, yeah.
But it's true.
That's great.
So we are about to close out, right? We have a few more minutes, but what is...
It's been an hour already?
I know, right? So much fun. It's such a great conversation. But I really wanted to know, if you could give one piece of advice, right? One piece of advice for the students as they take upon their next chapter in their journey.
Mm-hmm.
What would that one piece of advice be?
I think prepare. Opportunity favors the prepared mind. Be ready to give. It's called an elevator pitch for a reason, because you might be in an elevator and have 90 seconds to give it. I would encourage everyone to be prepared with the standard list of interview questions, and something that really helped me in my career, and I think helped distinguish me in interviews. I was encouraged by a mentor at the Warriors to read a book called Find Your Why by Simon Sinek, and
plug it in.
That's my plug. That's my plug for Simon Sinek. And frankly, it's not the most complicated read in the world. You can do it in an hour or two. It's not incredibly insightful, but what it does help is it helps you to find the reason why you want to do something. And in sports specifically, in any interview, you're going to be asked, why do you want to work in this position? And in sports, the answer is always, I like sports. That is the worst answer that you can give, because we all like sports, especially if you work in sports. So finding your why and really digging down to the reason as to why you want to work in that field, why you want to have that position, the impact you want to have, and being able to show people that you not only understand the job that needs to be done, but convey that in a storytelling fashion and be able to connect with the person that you're interviewing with. I think is the most important thing that I've done in my young career and throughout all the interviews that I've had.
Wow, and it really comes down to that. You're talking about yourself. You're doing that storytelling of your why, of what you're wanting to pursue. So it's beautifully put together.
I guess it's on our to-read list.
Yes.
Yeah, I encourage everyone to go out and find their why.
So we do have a couple of questions from the chat.
Yeah,
which
for
is
sure.
really exciting. So let's see here. What is your favorite part of being in the sports marketing industry?
It is something that gets me excited every morning to get up and go to work. Personally, for me, going to work in an arena is really, really cool. We work.
Do you get to go to all the games?
I can go to all the games if I want.
So I need to be your best friend.
Hopefully the Spurs are sold out this year. I have no
that's
tickets
true.
available to
That's
me,
true.
but yes, we go to games. You get behind the scenes access. frankly, when you tell people you work for a team, it's it's sexy, it's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
You're about to get a lot of applicants
Yeah.
after this.
Look, we have 50
please
more questions.
apply for the Spurs positions. Come find us on Teamwork Online and LinkedIn. It's a great organization to work for. But for me, the ability to, I got to get up and I got to go to work at at the Chase Center, or get up and go to work at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, or get up and go to work at the Frost Bank Center. And if you want to go take a meeting from a courtside chair, you can. And it just it's exciting to come to work.
So
every
next
day.
time we can have this at the
There,
Exactly.
on the
Oh,
court.
I think that would be a better
Make it happen,
background.
Eric.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, and then let's see here. So we had obviously some questions about like jobs, experience, LinkedIn. So just kind of further plugging, right? Like all of our career kit events that we do have. Check out our career resources on our website, and then of course check out our Rowdy Recruiting. That way you can meet with employers. And so let's see. So one of the questions was more about like with your if you had an internship. I don't know. Okay, so with your internship, did you feel that did further prepare you for where you're at now?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I think, Krishna, you brought it up. Finding out what you don't want to do is just as important, if not more important, than finding out what you do want to do. And I think that my internships, especially at the University of Miami and at the Warriors, helped me kind of look at all the facets of the business and decide, hey, this is where my strengths lie. This is what's going to get me up in the morning. This is what I think I'm going to be good at. And then, I don't want to work in this department if this doesn't interest me too much. And eventually you narrow it down to what you do want to do. And, I think I've found a pretty good runway career-wise in partnerships and opportunities for growth. And I think that was more a function of finding out what I don't want to do than it was finding out what I do want to do. And internships give you a fantastic opportunity to do that. So I encourage people to seek out internships at organizations and at teams and at companies more than necessarily the specific positions, especially if it's a well-run internship program, as opposed to maybe a glorified shadow, if you will.
And in all your experience with internships and your professional experience,
Mhm.
if you don't mind me asking, what has been your favorite project that you've gotten or to be part of?
Yeah, that's a great question.
If there's one that you can put as your top and your favorite.
That's a tough call. There was one at the Falcons that was fantastic, and it was with Delta Airlines. And we brought in basically a bunch of sweepstakes winners, and they got to kick, actually it was at Atlanta United, soccer team. And you got to kick a ball from one end of the field onto a gigantic map in the middle of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And wherever your ball rolled on the map, you got free Delta tickets to that location.
Wow.
Where did you land?
Unfortunately, I was the guy retrieving all the soccer balls. But that was a fantastic activation. It was
what was the coolest? Do you remember the coolest destination?
Yeah, I mean, people were like getting flights to Japan and getting flights to Europe,
awesome.
and it was
Students don't get any ideas.
Yeah,
that's not the immersion programs. We actually have an application.
But I think that's a great example of a really engaging activation where you're building a ton of brand affinity, a ton of brand awareness, a ton of brand loyalty, but you're also creating great storytelling content that you can put out on social media. And then at the Spurs, I think my baby, if you've seen on our Instagram, when the players come in, they walk through a special secret tunnel from the player parking lot to the locker room. And it's the NBA. It's about fashion. It's about culture. It's about the players' personalities, and they showcase that with their outfits and their shoes and their pregame fits. So we actually branded the entire hallway Michelob Ultra, who is the official beer of the Spurs. Nice plug there. And
Look at the camera.
it is the Ultra Drip hallway, and it's essentially a runway for our players to come in and showcase their styles and their personalities. And it's done a fantastic job driving engagement on social media. And on top of that, we've had co-branded limited edition merchandise and in-arena activations. So that was a really big undertaking that I think all my internship experiences prepared me for, that we got to execute at the Spurs. I mean, that was 100 different departments coming together to get something done, and it's resulted in fantastic KPIs all across our socials and with our fans and their affinity for not only the Spurs and our players, but also our partners and the Ultra brand.
And let's connect all of that. So now with just that project that you shared, you have talked about the marketing lens of seeing something and making something greater out of it in social media, putting the brands into it. So using a lot of different skills, I feel like.
Yeah.
That now everything is culminating with your career path, your experience, and your expertise. And I think it's the beauty of marketing and a lot of careers out there and communications and sports, and you can do so many things, so many things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like partnerships specifically and brand marketing, I think, is a great way for you to get involved in kind of like all areas of the business, especially at a young point in your career where you can really experience, what it's like to work with a number of different areas. And I think, maybe you find out you really like doing social more than you like managing partnerships, and that's where your skills lie, and it drives you to, a career in that.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so
Yes.
much.
Oh, my
That
pleasure.
was wonderful.
Sabrina, Krishna, thank you so much for having me.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate
Eric,
it.
so much. On
Yeah.
behalf of the Alvarez College of Business Student Success Center, we thank you so much for your time. We know it's busy, and we really hope for a great season.
Go
Right?
Spurs, go.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
Birds
Road
up.
Runner, Birds up.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Sabrina, and everyone. And I know you were going to.
Yes, I was just going to mention, please be sure to check out after the event. We do have a brief survey. If you wouldn't mind completing that for us, let us know how you liked this live stream idea. And then as far as future events, again, please be sure to check out our UTSA business calendar to check out any upcoming career kits, rowdy recruitings, and just other events that we have coming up in general. And once again, just thank you so much for tuning in with us, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.
And one thing I always wanted to say this because I don't do YouTube. I'm not an influencer person, but I always want to say this. Hit the red button and subscribe.
There we go.
Like and
Like and
subscribe.
subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Bio.
I even said it wrong. Okay. Like and subscribe. There we go. That's why I'm going to do YouTube. Thank you all so much
Thank
for
you.
joining.